I was talking with my best friend the other day about religion. He's a Christian guy. He's like 6'6" in the military type shit, like pure American values, listens to country music, all that jazz. He was talking to me about how his faith has helped him in life, make revelations, make him want to be a better person, whatnot. And I was telling him how like I wish religion like worked on me in that kind of sense. I used to go to church when I was a kid, with my family and such. Once I hit like 10, like 11 or 12, kind of stopped going regularly, and then at 13 I just stopped going entirely. From what I remember, I didn't really pay attention a whole lot. The kind of main memory I do have at the church I went to was the fact that I snuck out of I don't know if I snuck out or just like went to the bathroom and just wandered the halls, but I went to one of the one of the faculty doors and I just put the whole doorknob in my mouth. Um that's cool, I guess. But religion has never played like a very prominent role in my life. And because of that, I kind of had to come to my own realizations about the world, on my own. Kind of like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't believe Noah's Ark happened. You know what I mean? That just doesn't make sense. And I was talking to my friend about it, and where I was like, yeah, I get how most of the biblical stories are like analogies. You're supposed to, it's not supposed to be taken at face value. You're supposed to read the text and infer from it your own positive meaning from. You know what I mean? Like when I don't even know what the moral of Noah's Ark would be. But like what's Abraham and his son on the hill? God tells him he needs to kill his son, and then he doesn't at the end. I don't think that happened. I think that's a story that you can derive meaning from. Kind of somewhat like fairy like Pinocchio, you know what I mean? It's like that. It's like it's stories with meaning and you get the meaning from them. And he was kind of on the same wavelength with that. He's like, "Yeah, I don't fucking like that's what you're supposed to do with them. They may or may not be actual like real stories, but what you're supposed to do with the text is to read it and infer and gain your own meaning from it, right?" And then we started delving into more of like the more supernatural of it all, like I suppose, about like prayer and what happens after death. And I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. Not only that, but the the mediums in which this is being explained by the text, it's like so outlandish. It's so convoluted. It's not optimal, you know? So it sounds a little fake, a little bit. But even in that, I understand that you're still supposed to use like even like real or not, you're supposed to use the text to guide your life into being a better term, like a better life in terms of societal standards, I guess. Leading with kindness, being a welcoming neighbor, all that shit, like all that jazz. That's what you're supposed to grab from the text. It's supposed to guide you into being a better person. And on that front, I understand why religion is such like a comforting concept to people because it does give them that like backbone to kind of fall onto in life, Where I kind of like where it just doesn't make sense to me is when people are like, "Oh, prayer works." You know what I mean? Or yes, the earth was entirely flooded and two of every animal was on a boat. At that point, it's like, are we serious, guys? I remember I was trying to respond to someone on TikTok a year or two ago about Noah's Ark. That's why it's so fresh in my mind here. And my first question was to them was like, how the hell do you get animals native to North America on on a boat in the Middle East? That doesn't this is like that doesn't make sense. This is already past Pangea time. Everything's like all the continents are already moved away. How are we gonna get how do we get there? You know? And their explanation, I mentioned Pangea, their explanation was that the Earth was still in Pangea size. So like, like they're all we just took a short stroll everywhere. And whenever I encounter people like that who don't even not only do they not understand the text that they're preaching, but they also don't understand just the historical events around the time of that text being written, it makes me feel like they just don't know what they're talking about. Henceforth, what they're preaching is stupid. You know, I've never felt like compelled into belief because all of the I guess it was just my area growing up, but all the examples of people who were very faithful were also not the smartest people around me. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, once you're around like people who are just I'm just gonna like in school when you're around all the more smart kids, most of them are on the internet a lot as well, and then you're getting a whole lot of just weird shit online, and that's I think that's where I kind of figured out. That's I mean that's where you see debunking videos of I remember watching not only not anti-Christian but like disproving Christian tales book like videos as well as like pro atheist videos. It was a very weird time in my life. But at that moment I was just like this whole religion concept. I understand that it's a backbone of morality for people to fall onto because it also gives them comfort. You know, it's a very comforting thought to know there's something after you die. And that's what a lot of like most religions are kind of leading towards is that your time on earth will depict how your time after death goes, you know? And then once you get into all that junk, you realize, well, if the whole argument of like if a all-loving God can send you to hell and then everyone's like, oh well, hell is this, and there's so many different depictions of what hell it could be. It's too I don't want to say too vague, but it's just too convoluted to where it's like this just literally does not make sense, and this doesn't like what the hell. I'm not gonna believe this if you can't even convince me that this doesn't sound so stupid and outlandish. What I'm trying to say here is that I really do wish religion kind of worked on me, you know, but I think I'm at a point in my life where I kind of see through a lot of the fallacies in a lot of religious texts. I'm using Christianity kind of as a first example because that's I mean I live in Texas, but I mean really with any kind of religious text, it's very easy to see all the like contradictions and whatever it may be. But like I wish I still like I could it could work on me because if I were to try and convert or like be try and be religious, it just wouldn't work. I feel like I'd be like, okay, well this is just silly. This is silly. This is make believe. I'm not doing make believe, you know. But yeah, I think religion's a cool concept, but it doesn't work on me. LOL. Thank you.